go back. All right, so I'm the last speaker, and I know you guys want to get your opportunity to win these prizes, or go to your favorite Friday watering hole, or maybe you can go to downtown Hartford. I just found out a little while ago that Donald Trump is going to be at the convention center at 7 o'clock tonight, so for those of you who support him, this is your opportunity to see him locally. So I wanted to talk about a trade association called the Connecticut Technology Council. I don't know how many of you have heard of us. I'm just curious on this audience. How many of you have heard of the Tech Council? All right, well, that's better than I thought. So we've been around since 1994. We're about 300 members strong. Not a big trade association. We're not a CBIA or a Middlesex County Chamber or any of those guys. But our members are all technology companies. And I always like to point to the companies that are more prominent members, because most of our members are smaller companies. Like at JKS, for example, they're a member. And Datto, who you have heard from today, is a member. Here are some of our big members: Xerox, ESPN, Pitney Bowes, Rogers and Surety, Gerber, Medtronic. One time GE was a member, but we all know about GE now that they're leaving Connecticut. So, what I like to say, we represent all the technology verticals. That means every technology company, whether you're in biotech, pharma, software, IT, any of the other technology verticals, they're members of our association. So what we've built since we were born in 1994 is a community, I like to say, an interesting soup of people, technology leaders, entrepreneurs, active board members, investors. That's the community we've created over the last 22 years. Coming together again to promote technology, to be an advocate for, be a cheerleader for the state tech sector. As I mentioned, we were founded in '94. There's our byline, an advocate for innovation and growth. One of the things you have to do when you're a lobbyist or an advocate for the tech sector or a trade association, you got to educate legislators about the value of your group that you represent. And that's one of the things we do pretty regularly. You've got to go up to the legislature and get your legislative agenda promoted and supported and boosted and hopefully get some of those bills passed. You're building community, you're creating a buzz, getting people interested in the tech sector, because we've got to be competitive with other states. Massachusetts up the road with Stoll GE has got a pretty solid tech sector. We'd like to think we've got a solid one too. But you've got to talk about it. You've got to create that buzz that I mentioned just a minute ago. We do that through research and white papers, which over the years we've done and produced, again, to draw attention to the tech sector. We assist our members. One of the reasons JKS, for example, is a member, because they want to meet clients. They want to conduct business development. So by being a member of CTC, we present those opportunities. And how do we present those opportunities? Through a wide array of events. We do about 80 events a year, both small and big. We do most of them for ourselves, but we also, believe it or not, get contracted by other organizations in the same area as us to do their events for them. And I thought maybe I'd take a minute just to talk about these events, because I think they're very interesting. And some of you here in the audience today might want to come to them and attend them, because I think you're going to find some interesting people there, make some great connections, perhaps pick up a client or two or three. Markham Tech Top 40 is an event we do every year that I call it's similar to the Inc. 500, only this is our top 40 tech companies based on revenue growth. Only tech companies, done every year in September. Interesting event. Companies have to be at least $3 million in revenue to participate. So if you're interested in meeting some really cool companies, again, I point to Datto. Datto was one of the companies last year. They're doing this, I call them the supernova of tech companies in Connecticut. If you want to talk about revenue growth, there's a company that really knows how to repeat year after year with great revenue growth. Innovation Summit. If the Tech Top 40 is about companies that are mature, making a lot of money, the Innovation Summit is about the best startups in Connecticut. That event we do at the Convention Center. If you want to meet really cool young companies, most of them are pre-revenue. They haven't made a penny yet, but there are smart people behind those great entrepreneurs hoping to become the next Google or Microsoft or whatever they're dreaming to become. And it's great to dream. IT Summit, that's an event I think some of you guys here might be interested in. I've got information at our table about the IT Summit. It's an event for IT practitioners and CIOs. It's October 20th this year. If you're one of those or want to sell to those, that's an event you ought to look up and check out on our website or come see us at our table. Cybersecurity seminars, we started this last year. Obviously, we all know about the threats that we face and being attacked by hackers and being breached. We started a seminar series last year for the SMB enterprise to help them protect themselves and become more knowledgeable how they might fend off those intruders. Women in Innovation, that's an event that we just did a couple weeks ago. It's our biggest event. That's what that picture in the corner represents. These are women that are the smartest, the brightest researchers, academicians, high school students, engineers in the state. We recognize them every year with an event called Women of Innovation. CEO Forum, that's a dinner we do every year for the technology presidents and CEOs in the state of companies doing at least $3 million. An interesting collection of smart men and women. They don't get together often, so we like to bring these CEOs together so they get to know each other. It's an opportunity for them to network and make new friends and expand their advisory board, as I like to say, by connecting with their peers. Girls of Innovation, it's a program for 7th and 8th grade girls. If any of you have a 7th grader or an 8th grader and want to send her to a day at the Connecticut Science Center, in this program that we run, it's a great opportunity to have the girls get introduced to careers in science and technology. Our mentors are successful women in science and technology field, so it's a great program for young girls. Connecticut Skills Challenge is something we started this year. You'll find this interesting. So we went to 10 colleges and universities in Connecticut, their computer science departments, tested their students for their coding and programming skills, and found the best 50. And then 2 weeks ago we had a competition at Yale where we awarded some pretty sizable prizes in a hackathon competition. And then introduced those same 50 kids, I call them, or college students. Most of them were seniors, a couple grad students in there, to job opportunities. Connecticut Data, in fact, was there. So we introduced them to EduJob here, to some of the companies that are here in Connecticut, so that when they graduate, they don't leave here and go off to Austin or Seattle or wherever else they're going, but consider opportunities in Connecticut. That's what the Connecticut Skills Challenge is. Peer networking for HR and tech CEOs. We run out of our office an opportunity for the HR directors of tech companies to get together every quarter. It's good for them to learn from each other and find out about best practices. And it's almost the same thing we're doing for technology presidents and CEOs. So I call it peer-to-peer track networking. Public policy, I talked about that a little bit. If you're a trade association, you've got to lobby on behalf of your members. You've got to lobby on behalf of the tech community. There are 3 bills this year or 2 bills actually, that we're promoting. It's going to be hard to get anything through the legislature given the fact that we're facing, I believe it's a $900 million plus deficit, but an angel tax credit, if anybody knows anything about the angel tax credit, if you're an angel, that's somebody that's worth at least $1 million. You can put your money into a Connecticut startup, tech startup, it doesn't have to be a tech startup, but most of them are, and get a break on your Connecticut personal income tax. Without that incentive, they won't do it. Or they may, but they might do it in a state like New York or New Jersey, which has the angel tax credit. So we want to make sure that we extend it here in Connecticut so that young companies in Connecticut can find capital. They don't have to look outside of Connecticut, again, going to Massachusetts or Silicon Valley and moving their company instead of staying here. So trying to get that passed, and it looks pretty good for that. R&D tax credit, I'm not going to get into that, get pretty technical, but it encourages Connecticut companies to invest in R&D. We want them to do that. Again, they'll get a tax break if this bill gets extended, and that also looks good. And the other thing we did a lot with this year is talked about the affordability of broadband and its accessibility as well, particularly for businesses. We had a lot of discussions going on around that. So there's more to be heard there. That's an ongoing debate and discussion. And then the last thing I thought I'd just share with you, these are some of our sponsors. As I mentioned, we put on events. Events are paid for and work better when they're sponsored by companies like this. So you want to get your name, this is just some of them. If you'd like to get your name on one of our events and be associated with an event and do some business development and meet some interesting people, you can see who your company would be. You see Dado again. I think Dado's everywhere today. Level 3, I saw level 3 guy here before. This is an opportunity for you to perhaps associate yourself, build a little brand, get the word out about your company, show your thought leadership, and come join us as a sponsor of a CTC event. And with that, I'm going to say we're done so we can go find out if we want anything, guys. That's a lot.